dense forest where no human is allowed to set foot. The people of the city don't believe in the old stories that warn against entering such places. For them, it's just a myth. But what happens there is truly terrifying. This story is full of adventure and mystery, and it begins with a warning. There are many such places around the world mentioned in ancient texts, places that are forbidden to enter. It is said these places hold secrets beyond human comprehension, and those who ignore the warnings often realize their mistake too late. Now we see Scott, a frightened young man, recording a video in the middle of the forest. His hands are trembling. He says he is an American tourist who came to Panama's Darien forest with his friends. By mistake, they ended up in a restricted part of the jungle. Now, something strange is chasing them. Just as Scott is about to scream for help, a horrifying shriek echoes through the air, and Scott vanishes along with his friends, without a trace. But how did it all start? Scott and his girlfriend Steve were heading out on a vacation with their friends. As they were packing for their flight, they received a video call from Elena. Trevor and Charlie had already reached Panama and were enjoying a beach party. Scott told them he and Steve would arrive by noon since their flight was just 2 hours later. After some fun on the call, they left for the airport. After reaching the airport, they waited for their flight. Upon landing in Panama, Scott and Steve got into a van sent by their hotel. The journey was long because the hotel was deep inside the jungle. The drive took longer than expected, but eventually, they arrived and reunited with their friends. That night, the whole group partied on the beach with music, dancing, and drinks. Trevor met a local girl named Carmen and began flirting with her. After a while, she joined the group. As the night progressed, another local named Julio arrived, introduced by Carmen. The party picked up again, filled with music, dancing, and laughter. No one had the slightest idea how terrifying the coming days would be. The next day, Scott was browsing the internet for places to visit and things to do. He came across an article about the Darien Gap Forest. As he read further, a shocking fact emerged. Every tourist who had entered the forest had disappeared without a trace. This only fueled Scott's curiosity. He did more research and found a video. The footage showed tourists heading into the Darien Gap when suddenly, they spotted something strange in the distance. Their bodies froze with fear, and in panic, they ran away. Scott had no idea that just 2 days later, he would be recording a similar video. But instead of fear, he felt excited. The footage showed the forest's beauty, and he was eager to explore it. The next morning, he showed the video to Julio. Julio listened carefully and admitted that there was indeed a beautiful waterfall deep inside the forest. But he also gave a warning. His ancestors had always forbidden him from going there. According to local legends, the forest hides something beyond human understanding. The nearby tribes believe in a terrifying truth: chupacabras, demonic spirits that are neither fully human nor animal. It's said that whoever enters the forest is marked for death by these creatures. In a deep voice, Julio said, "That's why no one ever returns." But to the city folk, it was just a joke. They dismissed Julio's words as superstition, just childhood tales meant to scare. While everyone was busy, Steve told Elena about an emergency app he had installed. He explained that it could upload photos and videos in real time to YouTube and Facebook. Could even recognize contacts and tag them. Basically, it was a safety tool for emergencies. At night, the group sat around a campfire, laughing and having fun. But the conversation eventually shifted to visiting the deep waterfall in the jungle. The idea of exploring an unknown spot in the forest thrilled everyone. As excitement grew, Julio became nervous. He immediately tried to stop them and said, "You absolutely can't go there." He also warned Carmen not to make the mistake of taking them there. But by the next morning, the group had made up their minds. They convinced Carmen it would just be a normal adventure, nothing serious. Initially hesitant, Carmen finally agreed after persistent teasing by her friends. Full of excitement, the group climbed into Carmen's car, ready for their jungle adventure. Meanwhile, Julio reached the beach and was horrified to learn that Carmen had taken the tourists to the Darien Gap. All his warnings had been ignored. His face showed clear panic, as if he sensed something terrible was about to happen. Without wasting a second, he got into his car and sped toward the jungle. He had to stop them before it was too late. Carmen and the group finally reached the edge of the dense forest. Beyond that lay their destination, the magnificent waterfall they were so eager to see. But now the problem was that the car could go no further. Ahead lay only thick forest. They had to continue on foot. Julio kept calling Carmen repeatedly, his heart pounding. He desperately wanted to warn her again, but she ignored every call. When Julio realized she wouldn't answer, he sent an urgent voice message. But Carmen didn't care for warnings anymore. She was completely lost in the thrill of adventure. Laughing and carefree, she walked ahead with Trevor and the group. They had no idea that in the silence of the forest, something in the shadows was watching their every move. After walking for about half an hour, the group reached the waterfall. The view was breathtaking. Without wasting a moment, they jumped into the water, clicking photos, thinking this trip was going to be perfect. But the forest had not yet revealed its true face. Meanwhile, on the other side of the jungle, Julio had finally arrived. But something suddenly struck his back with force, sending a shock through his body. Terrified, he turned around and sped back. His heart was out of control. Back at the waterfall, after having fun, Trevor and Carmen decided to walk into a quieter part of the forest. They sat together, enjoying the moment. Suddenly, Carmen felt something strange, as if someone was watching them. She quietly told Trevor. He dismissed it as imagination but went to check the surroundings to ease her mind. He wandered among the trees, looking around. But as time passed and he didn't return, Carmen grew anxious. She called out for him but got no response. Unease crept into her, and she decided to look for him herself. Meanwhile, Scott and the others were getting dressed when suddenly a loud sound echoed through the jungle. Carmen's scream. Without a moment's delay, everyone ran toward the sound. At the same time, Trevor, who had been searching in the forest, also heard Carmen's scream and panicked. He began running back without thinking. While running, Trevor suddenly noticed something on the ground, Carmen's bracelet. His heart started pounding. With trembling hands, he picked up the bracelet and moved forward nervously. When he reached the group, he showed them the bracelet and said in a shaking voice, "Carmen is missing." Fear swept across everyone's faces. They began calling out her name and searching everywhere nearby. But as time passed, no trace of her was found. Slowly, they began to realize something was terribly wrong. Scott took out his phone to call for help from the hotel, but there was no signal. He didn't give up. He thought maybe if he climbed to a higher spot, he might get a network. He moved ahead in search of a high point, but the jungle felt like a maze. Every path seemed like it didn't want them to leave. As they kept moving, night fell, and the forest became even more terrifying. Silence filled the air. A strange unease lingered, and just when they thought nothing could get worse, something moved in the bushes. It was the very thing Julio had warned them about. Its glowing eyes stared at them through the darkness. A wave of cold terror swept through the group. Hearts raced, and without thinking, they ran in different directions. Without watching where they were going, they ran blindly into the night. In the chaos, everyone got separated. Their panicked screams echoed through the depths of the forest. But no one could see anyone else.